Okay, for the last sitting in a field, we are going to explain the modifiers. For that, we are going to select a plane. If your cloner is selected in a field, we have the modifier. They are not used um, alone in this list. We have to use other fields and then modify them with these modifiers. For example, we select a linear field, and the first modifier is a clamp. The clamp is going to the above, and you can bring them up and down, but they are affecting the below them here, the underneath the uh, any linear. You can use a lots of clamps here, list clamps, or you can select the linear field in a remapping. You have a lots of clamp, but these clamps are inside the linear. But if you want to clamp the list, you can use the clamp. It's very simple and easy. You can clamp the minimum, you can clamp the maximum, or clamp the minimum maximum if you remap. It's just easy. So if you have, for example, random, bring, as you can see, the clamp just affect the linear field. As you can see, the clamp just affect the linear field here. And if you bring them up, it affect both of them clamp. Yeah, you can change. As you can see, it's affect both of the linears and random. This is just clamp. If you want it, you can use it. Okay, another modifier is a color filter. For the color filter, it's better we are using to shader, and instead of that, we are using, where was the shader? Shader is here. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Yeah, shader is here, and in a shader, in a field, you can assign and load your image. I load the image here. So as you can see in the plane effector in a field, I insert a custom shader. Be careful about that. If you couldn't see that, go to shader effector and change it to color, then go back to remap. It's sometimes bug. I don't know why, but it's here. So in plane effector, we have width and a shader, and you can assign a modifier color filter. It's going about that. It's simple. It's colorize your image with the filter. As you can see here, you can change the color. You can, instead of the value, change it to the color and change any color of it. The source does not different because the color filter does not value. It's just work with the color. You can turn it on or off, or for example, max it to combine this with the shader color. I insert a color image here. You can't. So the mode is, you can change the colors or anything. That's you due tone. It means you can change two color here and any changes that you want. Just this is an color filter. This is our colorize. Another shader is colorize. This is, it gives you one color. This is colorize it for you. And in a colorize, you can add a gradient here. You can assign it to the color and add, we can load the preset and double click and drag, and you can add any color here that you want to colorize your image. That's it. We have an animation here. As you can see, you can offset it. Source is a color, value or direction, a color. So we have an animation here. You can play it. And as you can see, it goes to white. Its colors goes to the white. So we can loop it if you want. Okay. And for example, if you add an animation, it goes from this color to this color and ending. But we have an exactly another interesting modifier called curve. These are all about color. Okay, in a curve, you can control this colorizing with the curve here. Um, as you can see, you can change the, for example, and here you can add an animation. If you want, you can right click and in a here is spline preset, for example, a sign. If you add an animation here, for example, 40 frame, it's looping. And as you can see, oh, we turn off it has both value. You can control value and the color. You can turn the color on, don't forget. And as you can see, it's looping and go to the white because the before and the after is clamped. You can make it loop before and after loop. For example, in this, it's looping, okay? And as you can see, it's looping. An interesting part here, the curve, instead of two others, it's accept the value. As you can see, if you, for example, colorize and the filter, they are not have the value option here. So you can go to the parameter and, for example, change the position. And as you can see, you can animate that color with value of the position and of course the value of that. But if you cannot refresh it, you have to go, where was that? If you select in a field, yeah, you turn on the refresh to better refreshing your colorizing. This is a curve. You can colorize and you can use a value, the parameter that you define in the plane, and any parameter you define here, position, rotation, scale, and the color. You can change the color. These effectors in a field, this modifier works with color. It's better see to the shader field that you want. And other modified decay and delay are they are the same, but a little difference. That's I now give you an example. Begin from the zero. Okay, for better seeing that, I have to use a field that animate it. Okay, for beginning, we use a plane effector. In a plane effector, I create, for example, radial or spherical. It's not important. Using a spherical, and we can change the minimum and maximum. For that, to better seeing that going in, yeah, in a spherical and remapping, play with the minimum and the maximum. I want just to disappear the inner radius with no fall off because we want to go into the parameter and make it a higher, it's a field. Going to the spherical field and I want to make it animation. Bring it from here to there. Or you can add any custom animation there. It's not important. You can keyframe the position of the, oh, sorry, the playlist. The playhead was there. Position here. Then bring it there. Yeah. Again there. Keyframe it. And in here, keyframe. Okay, let's see what you got here. Yeah, that's nice. And then bring it there again. Keyframe. Going to the last frame. Bring it again there. So we have an animation like this. Nice. Okay. Okay, and in the plane, in the field, we have the spherical field. Okay, and we add a modifier decay. And as you can see, we have something like a tail there, because it's a delay. Actually, with a delay, it will be connecting this to the bottom of the effector. Just decay doing that. You can control the affect the strengths. As you can see, the tail will be maintained more, or you can do it faster. We have two mode: minimum, maximum. As you can see, it's they are vice versa of each other. In this mode, it reached the cloner object to the top of that. In a minimum, it's vice versa exactly. From the top, it's going to the down. Okay, you can choose it. And as you can see, if you select the spherical from here, uh, yeah, I think, yeah, you can control the strengths here. Send decay. Another thing like this is delay. It's it's better, I think. As you can see, we have a delay. It's delaying creating this effect. We have a linear mode, smooth, and the nice thing here is spring. And as you can see, we have a spring mode here. You can just change them and create your own. You can use the strings to increase or decrease these strings. And as you can see, we have here you can control. Okay, in a delay and decay, as you can see, if you open it, you can control the effect strings. That it means this strings with another field. Okay, in a previous version, if you select it here, the subfield appear here, but as you can see, it's under here to don't confusing. You can control this effect by you can control the strength effect, this strength of this effect. For example, if you create it, make it more strength, as you can see, you can control this strength by another linear or another field. If you, for example, insert a linear field, you have to click and drag under this, and now you can control this by strengths by this plane. As you can see, if you can control the strengths with the follow this field behind this plane, we have no strengths. If you're going here, as you can see, we have a little strengths with the follow from here. And if you bring this effector here, you can control, for example, in this plane from back, we have no strings. As you can see, we have a smooth fall off here, and from this plane that is ahead of that linear plane, we have full string. So if you see, for example, in a decay, we have it any fields that has this child, it means you can assign another field to that and control that with another field. And as you can see, if you delete that, you can see all strings there. Okay, that's nice. Going to other effects. Another modifier is a formula. You can control you can assign the formula, but you can control other linear but by formula. It's very easy. For example, we assign a random here, and you can control this random by formula. For example, you can change the scale to a higher number. Sorry, it's another number. Yeah, you can control it to higher number. And because we don't have animation, we can animate it like this, and you can control it also by a formula. It's a modifier. It means you can assign the formula. As you can see, you can control the movement of that with a formula, or you can, for example, zero the animation if you want. If you can use any you can if you want, you can turn the animation in this random noise off and control your animation with the formula and create this formula that you want. And these are variable, and I explained it before. It's very easy. Okay, you can control any random things or any field with a formula. Okay, delete it and assign another effector. And for explain other modifier, freeze. The freeze is, for example, you create a box in a parameter. Oh, we use a plane. Yeah, it's a parameter. What happened in the field? Yeah, the value is nice. Create a linear. Oh, it does not work. What happened? Oh no, it is the time that you forget that I assigned a plane and didn't assign to the cloner. If you go to the effector, as you can see, it's empty. It's nice to face this issue to see what's the problem. And as you can see now, it's affect the cloner. Don't forget that. Okay, go to the planer. As you can see, we have a box and other, for example, spherical. As you can see, we have something like this. And other things that you want to, for example, create random, bring it below that, make it subtract. Well, you can create a lot of interesting things here. And the freeze modifier freeze and store all of this data in it. And it does not important where is in this hierarchy. As you can see, if you turn the all of the fields off, we have the freeze. You can opacity, as you can see, you can turn it's freezing all of the data in itself. You can clear it or freeze it again. If you clear and you have to turn all of them again, and you have to delete that. And as you can see, we have our random off, color off, and you have to delete it and then again assign it, and you can turn them off. And you can freeze all of this data of the field that created, store in a freeze. And as you can see, we have a child and we have a radius. It means you can go and select the mode to minimal or max on average, and you can turn auto update on. And as you can see, with the radius, you can smooth it. You can smooth the result of that field with the average, or you can maximum it with this radius. You can grow it. It's very interesting. As you can see, it's growing with that radius. So you can control this radius by Another fields is very more complex. For example, you can insert a linear field and assign it below the radius, and here you can control that radius by this field here. Okay, interesting. Select the freeze here. You can change the radius of that. That's it. It's the main purpose of the freeze. We have to give you an example and a project to better understand the freeze, but it frees the output of the all other fields. It's sometimes clear does not work because you have to delete it to assign again the fields here. Another another field here that I want to explain. This is a linear field. This is another modifier here is invert. It's very easy. It's invert the color and of course the direction of the any fields if you want. You can invert it in your fields, but here, if as you can see, if you go to the remapping, we have an invert. But if you want to invert the whole, for example, you have another linear. You have two linear. For example, bring it there. No, sorry, it does not work here. For example, we have two linear and we want to invert it here. You can enable or disable it to invert it or change the, as you can see, in some cases you can animate this invert process, and it is interesting. So this is invert. Okay, another modifier, if you linear, another modifier here is a 2D noise. It's a noise remapping. You can add a noise to your result of below. It's below. You can create it with the scales that you want. You can add an animation if you want. Okay, you can give a noise or noise shader to fields, but if you want to give a noise to this list, to the modifier, like a Photoshop layer, for example, you create an interesting fields and you want to add a simple noise to all of them, all of the fields together, not one by one. Here you can change the animation loop, offset and offset period, or change a lots of noise. And as you can see, you can change the noise. This isn't just noise name. And you can change the random seed of that, just as a noise. You can refer to the previous lesson that I explained the noise or shader. But yeah, that's enough. Another is a Python, and then another is a quantize. The quantize is like create like a step effector to your final result. Okay, it's creating like steps, and how many steps do you want to create? We can change it. This is just quantize. Okay. After quantize, we have a range map. With this settings, you can create a maximum and minimum of the list, all of the lists. For example, you have a lots of fields. Don't forget to turn off the clamp list, and with changing these sliders, you can change the maximum and minimum of that. Play with that to your desired output. So if you have a lot of other, as you can see, it just affect below itself. Okay, so for example, you have a lots of field here. You can remap it the minimum maximum of all fields, all results to that. As you can see, it's above all of the fields. For example, you have a lots of fields here. You can like this, and this range map, as you can see, affect all of the all of its fields below below that range map or modifier that you assign. That's it. Another is remap. It's interesting. If you select any field, we have a remapping tab here that you can remapping. I explained it before. Clamp them, change the strengths and minimum maximum. That you can add a remap layer over any field that you want, or you can remap it again if you want. As you can see, if you select a remap, we have remap on color. You can remap whole cloner or layers together with this modifier that is above. For example, if you want just remap this coin field, bring it above that. As you can see, just remap that field. Okay, below that. Remap below this. Okay, this is all a modifier in this part. And in this moment, all of the fields all of the tutorial will finished. And after that, after this lesson, we are going to the other important MoGraph object. All of these objects here, I explain them one by one. And after that, we are going to give you a lot of example and idea and combine all of the fields, all of the MoGraph, and all of the settings to approach our project-based tutorials. Hello, my friends. To continue these tutorials on YouTube, subscribe us, like us, and hit the bell icon. And now you will be alerted about all of the amazing videos that we release.